you is about this £250 million a week figure that's blazoned on the Brexit bus. Now, the chair of the UK Statistics Authority has described it as misleading. The All-Party Treasury Select Committee has told you to repaint the bus. Now, if you can't be trusted to tell the truth on that simple, basic fact in the campaign, then how can you be trusted on anything else?
Let's deal with the 350. The 350 million a week, in fact, it's 367 on the last year's figures. But
I'm just going by your bus.
350 million a week. 350 million is the amount that's gross inside the ONS's figures that actually is passed over to the European Union. Now there's all the talk about two areas, okay? What you're referring to is whether we get some money back on the rebate. Let's be very clear about that. We don't get that rebate money back for at least a year. So a year later... And by the way, it's not set, hang on, you asked me the question, it's not set in law, so that rebate comes back later, but it has to be discussed and debated each year, and a year in arrears. The second bit is they then say there's money that's brought back to you directly after that, which is money that is given back to the UK. But bear in mind, that money, which was ours, is now given back to us only if we do certain things. So the Commission says to us, these are the areas where we require you to do this work, otherwise you don't get the money that you need to do. So in other words, it comes back with their rules.
Support,
but hang on, but this is taxpayers' money that has gone to the European Union. So here, like this, Alex, it'd be like this. I know you're okay for money. So look, let me say I take 350 quid off you, okay, each week.
You can spare that.
And then a year later, I say, I tell you what, I'm going to take that money off you, Alex, and a year from now, I'll give you a bit back, and I might give you a bit more of the money back, but you'll have to do things that I tell you to do.
Ian,
so I think 350 million a week is very clear to taxpayers. That is their money that could be used for other things that goes to the European Union.
The very last thing to do is go into ad hominem arguments here. I mean, The Guardian claims, for example, that you stay in your partner's wife's estate, which has had £1.5 million of that money over the last few years. So let's take all the personal stuff out of it.
Well, I think you just added it in, to be fair.
I did.
Sorry, that was a bit gratuitous.
Gratuitous. You're the one who started talking about money.
I was illustrating to the listener
let's get to the
what
issue.
that means,
Let's
Alex.
get to the issue.
You just didn't want me to talk about that, did you?
So the 350 million is a gross figure. So when you say on that bus that you're going to spend the money on the NHS,
we just don't send it to the European Union.
No, you can't spend it on NHS because it's a gross figure.
No.
You haven't taken account of the rebate, and unless you're going to cancel all these farm subsidies, the ones that must be quite close to your heart, and the industrial subsidies,
Alex,
how can you spend it on the NHS?
This is taxpayers' money.
No, how can you spend it on the NHS?
Well, you can, because we don't send the money to the European Union, full stop.
You've taken a gross figure.
£350 million.
You haven't taken account of the rebate.
Okay, for one whole year,
so
£350 million doesn't even come back.
That's why they said it was misleading.
No, it's not misleading. 350, I'm sorry, 350 million.
When you describe
if
the
you leave
EU...
No, you asked me, you leave the European Union, the taxpayers do not send £350 million a week to the European Union. It's a very simple argument.
It's a gross figure.
It's a very simple argument.
You don't take account the rebate or
but
EU
your taxation,
spending.
your income isn't done in net figures.
The EU as a source of social injustice, which frankly is a bit rich coming from the guy who introduced the bedroom tax. But isn't the truth about this? Your own colleagues in the Brexit campaign, they actually want to sweep away all the great social advances of employment protection, the social chapter, holiday pay, rights for part-time workers, things that have been gains from the European Union. Isn't that the reality?
No, almost all the social changes were gained by UK governments actually making those changes. I mean, I don't really understand how a Democrat like you seems to think that the only way you can protect workers' rights is to have a bunch of bureaucrats in Brussels tell you what to do. I just don't understand this. No. You know, I had this same debate, by the way, with the Labour Party. They said we have to be in the European Union because the only way of protecting workers' rights is to have this bureaucracy tell us you can't make changes. My answer is, get elected if you want to change those, if you think we're not going far enough. Having got the British public to elect you, then by all means make those changes. So how about the social chapter then? Keep it or remove it? I actually believe that the workers' rights that we've introduced, the government, any government worth its salt, would stick to those. And those are the rights that we introduced. For example,
so when Boris Johnson, the man most likely to, says sweep it away, maternity, sweep it away,
let us deal with the realities. Let's deal with the realities, Alex. Maternity rights are larger and stronger in this country than they are under the European Union rules. So in what world do you think that unelected bureaucrats protect British people and their rights and their workers' rights rather than elected politicians
world-
elected to either Westminster or up in Edinburgh.
In the world
I
where
just don't
Boris
believe
Johnson,
it. I find it
the
a
man
really
tipped
negative
as
way of
most-
looking at
the man
democracy.
tipped as most likely to be a Tory Prime Minister says about the social chapter, sweep it away. And you think people haven't got the right to be concerned that these entrenched
The workers'
social
rights,
gains were going to be swept
the
away
rights for
by
British
the likes
people,
of
the
Boris
rights for
Johnson.
British people are best guaranteed by
Boris
democratically
Johnson.
elected governments in the UK. This, by the way, Alex, from you, a Democrat, you make me laugh on this one, because how can you possibly say that
You're
it
the
is
one who
more?
laughed
It is
when I
more
said Boris could be Prime
It is
Minister.
more trustworthy.
You laughed.
It is more trustworthy for us to put our trust in an unelected group of bureaucrats
So why did Boris
in
say
Brussels
sweep it away?
rather than in
Why
Democrats
did he
elected
say
government.
sweep it away about the social chapter?
I'm telling you now what exists. We
No, no.
have our we
Why
have,
did he say
we have
time-
had
your
years
time
of
is up.
working for workers' rights and for protections
Ian,
for the poorest,
I want,
and they
I
would
want
be
the laugh
stuck
about
to.
Boris
They would be
being
stuck
Prime
to.
Minister.
Ian,
Record me
it'll be your turn to ask Alex